Good afternoon. I'm Ben Johnson with Dent County Bot Watch. I'm coming to you today because a pamphlet was given out at the last commission meeting that is supposed to educate all of you silly, ignorant people who are upset about flock and assuage some of your fears that it's really not all that bad. They're just here to protect you. This pamphlet, interestingly enough, turns out in my investigations to be 100% AI. It really seems like as soon as they started getting some actual heat and going, maybe we need to explain ourselves a little bit, one of them, I don't know if it was the sheriff or Gary Larson or who it was, but somebody sat down with Grok or ChatGPT and said, my stupid constituents are upset about flock cameras. What do I tell them? Give me a community guide and some frequently asked questions on ALPRs. That's how this document was created. So don't take anything in it that seriously, honestly, because if your elected officials can't be bothered to sit down for 5 minutes and write out an honest to goodness press release from a human being explaining themselves, you really think this is going to... Let's get into it. Okay, so this is the first page. We're going to do a line-by-line takedown of this because honestly, most of the things in here are either not true, erroneous, or like this reads like it's straight from Flock. So, automated license plate readers have been used by law enforcement for decades and have become one of the most widely used investigative technologies in the United States. Many patrol vehicles have been equipped with mobile ALPR systems for nearly 20 years, and today, fixed cameras are commonly installed along roadways and in parking lots throughout the country. Several manufacturers produce ALPR technology, including Flock Safety, Motorola Solutions, Rector Genetic, and others. They didn't mention Axon. While each system has unique features, they all perform essentially the same function, capturing license plates and visible vehicle characteristics to assist criminal investigations. Because these systems have become more common, many citizens have understandable questions about how they work, what information they collect, and how privacy is protected. This guide is intended to answer those questions. Well, how nice of them. I really appreciate that because I'm really concerned. I'm just a idiot who doesn't have Google and doesn't know how to look anything up. So I'm very thankful that they wanted to explain it to little old me. So as far as this paragraph goes, it's kind of like, it's AI SLOP. It's like, yeah, with the ALPRs. But when it comes to the fixed ALPR readers that it mentions that are in cop cars, nobody has a problem with that. What's the point of a license plate? It's like a cop is interacting with somebody under a constitutional circumstance. They need to identify the plate. Nobody has a problem with that. It's the fact that they are everywhere, that they're stationary, and that they collate all of this data into a nationwide database that can be searched by any member of law enforcement, and apparently some people who aren't law enforcement, for any reason with no probable cause and no warrant. That's the problem, not the fact that you're identifying a license plate. So that line is thrown in there maybe to just make you feel like, it's gaslighting. It's to make you feel like, oh, well, they've been here forever, and I guess I'm just too stupid to notice. It's like, okay, so let's move on here. Frequently asked questions. What is an automated license plate reader? An automated license plate reader is a camera system designed to photograph license plates in visible vehicle characteristics as vehicles travel on public roadways or through parking lots. The system records information already visible to anyone standing along a public street, including license plate number, state of registration, vehicle make, vehicle model, vehicle color, date and time, camera location. Let's see, let's find, what did I do with page 2? Moving on. Oh, I guess that's the end of that. Anyway. Maybe I got my pages mixed up. Doesn't matter a whole lot. As far as this goes, it's like, yeah, this is what we're saying here. It's not just the license plate. It's the make, model, color. And what they don't mention in here is that it also does, it recognizes vehicle damage. It recognizes stickers. Flock specifically advertises in the paperwork that was signed by the commission and the sheriff's department that it can read stickers. And Len Pabin got up there a couple of weeks ago and was acting like, I don't think it would recognize a sticker. Buddy, you guys have the contracts. Read your own stuff. Read the contracts. It says footage, first of all, not pictures. And it also says that it can recognize those aspects of your car. So this idea that it's just a license plate reader is ridiculous and patently false. So I have this one labeled as 2. I'm not sure if this is actually the second page. This was sent in to me. I wasn't actually at the meeting, but I have watched it. So we'll just go through these, whether it's in order or not. It doesn't really matter because most of the information in here is false. So let's go in here. What information does ALPR not collect? Despite common misconceptions, ALPR systems do not photograph the faces of drivers or passengers for identification, identify who is driving a vehicle, record conversations, capture fingerprints or biometric information, read text messages or phone calls, access a person's cell phone, monitor internet activity, know where someone lives, know where someone shops, issue traffic citations by themselves, establish probable cause, or make arrests. The technology identifies vehicles, not people. So far, this is the most ridiculous paragraph out of all of this. It doesn't photograph the faces of drivers or passengers for identification. So they add that on there for identification. If it's taking a picture of your car, how is it not taking a picture of you? And if it's not taking a picture of people or their faces for the purpose of later identification, why are you guys putting them up in parks and on trails and in schools and everywhere else where there are no cars? So if it's identifying vehicles, not people, what possible purpose could you have for putting a flock camera at those locations? Now, we don't, to my knowledge, have any of those here in Dent County, but across the country, the same kind of people that put them in here in Dent County are putting them in parks, and there's even been discussion here in the city. I don't know if it's actually been done, but there's been discussion in the budget planning in the city of Salem about putting one up near the park or something. It's kind of murky, and nobody's really made it any easier for us to know what's going on. Identify who's driving a vehicle. So then what's the point of it? If it can identify who's driving a vehicle, what's the point of it? What's the point of a license plate? It's to identify the owner of the vehicle. So, I mean, I guess somebody could be driving a car that doesn't belong to them, but how often does that really happen compared to people driving in their own cars registered to them? So it is identifying you. Yes, that's a lie. Let's see, where were we? Identify, okay, record conversations. So it's kind of like yes and no. The traffic cameras that you're seeing on the highways aren't recording your conversations. But the ones that are being put in like neighborhoods and parks and schools and things like that, some of them, and I'm not 100% up on the non-ALPR aspects of this system, but some of those they're like gunshot sniffers. They're, supposedly, that's the line, is that they're gunshot sniffers, or that they're trying to listen for sounds of distress to automatically dispatch police officers. And so I know whether flock or not, companies do make these and they do deploy them in cities. And they are recording conversations. They're recording everything. If it can identify, you say, oh my gosh, he has a gun. Or if it can identify a gunshot compared to a backfire, like it's identifying any audio that goes through it. It's processing it, it's recording it. So that's also kind of ridiculous in those cases. But yes, the roadside cameras are not recording conversations, and I don't think anybody thought that they were. Next one, capture fingerprints or biometric information. Who in the heck suggested that that's what they do? No, but I have not seen a single person say that they're worried about flock cameras capturing their fingerprints. Reading text messages or emails. Nobody thought they could. Access a person's cell phone. So that's kind of a sticky one. It's like, it's like yes and no. So the base ALPR cameras, no, they do not access a person's cell phone. And it also kind of depends on what you mean by access. If it means get in there and like give you a virus or give you, spy on your pictures on your phone or something, like it can't do that. But there are these little limpet modules that are being attached onto piggybacking off of flock cameras it's doing something called signal trace. It's pulling in every Wi-Fi RF signal that goes by it and logging it. And then what they're able to do is compare that data to the data gathered through the visual portion of the camera, train their AI models with it, and eventually you won't even really need the camera portion because they'll be able to sniff your Apple Watch. At least that's what some of the discussion in the anti-flock space is saying right now. So we'll have to see if that's true or not. But some of the flock technology, yes, it can access your cell phone in some way, not a super invasive way, but it can tell what it is. It can tell like the I'm not a computer science guy. I want to say like the MAC address, the IP address, like whatever it's giving out into the world, whatever your phone is broadcasting out into the world, these cameras can pick that up. Well, not the cameras by themselves, but the new modules that they're adding to them, which interestingly don't have an FCC number, so nobody knows what they do. As with some of the other things that they've been putting on flock cameras, like there's a new module called like a radar. It says radar on the sticker. Radars require an FCC number, but none of these have an FCC number, so we don't know what they do. Monitor internet activity. Who thought that? Nobody said that. Again, so there's a lot of stuff in here that's like thrown in. It's almost like it's to gaslight us, or to make us look stupid. Monitor internet activity. Nobody said that they did. Know where someone lives. Well, that's not true, actually. Now, maybe in a place where, like Dent County, where we've only got 2 or 3 of the flock cameras, maybe you could, make the case that they don't know where you live. But go look at the deflock map. If you believe that, go look at the deflock map. Go look at any major metro area in the United States, especially the like from Kansas City east. Go look at any major city. There are cameras, sometimes multiple cameras on every block. They literally watch you leave your house. They watch you drive around town. They watch you go to your doctor. They watch you take your kids to school. And then they watch you pull back into your driveway. There is no way that Flock doesn't know where you live. Not to mention, again, kind of the whole purpose of a license plate and a vehicle registration is to identify the owner of the car. So if they've got your license plate, they know where you live. So that's just kind of silly. Know where someone shops. Again, it's like, did anybody even proofread this? How could they not know where someone shops when Home Depot has a contract with them? Lowe's has a contract with them. And then there's a camera every 5 feet in every city outside of these places. How could they not know where you shop? They absolutely know where you shop. What data do you think they're gathering on the big scale here? It's not, they're right when they say they don't care if you go to the dispensary 5 times a day or whatever, that they don't care about what you individually are doing. That's true. They're trying to gather data on everybody so that they can have pattern of life data. So yeah, that's part of their product, and they're selling that. Otherwise, none of their stuff would even really work if it didn't identify where you're going and who you are. What's the point of it if it can't identify who you are and where you're going and where you've been? That's why the police like them. That's why they're a tool for the police, is because they identify you and they track what you do. And so this pamphlet, whoever put this together, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, really. If this was Sheriff Wells or somebody at the sheriff's office or somebody in the commission's office, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You did no research on this at all. You have no idea what you're talking about, and clearly neither does Grok or whatever language model you had whip this thing up. So anyway, without me getting too upset, let's continue. Issue traffic citations by themselves. I mean, that kind of depends on the state. In Missouri, I don't think it's legal for a camera to issue traffic citations by themselves. Nobody was really worried about that. I mean, at least that wasn't my major concern, was, oh, I might get a ticket in the mail. I don't speed. I don't drive crazy. I'm not worried about getting a ticket from a camera. What I'm worried about is having my Fourth Amendment rights stolen from me. That's what I'm worried about, and not a ticket. Establish probable cause or make arrest. Again, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. How could a camera make an arrest? Is anybody... nobody's making that claim. Nobody thinks that. This is just like drivel. This is drivel. The technology identifies vehicles, not people. Well, and the other thing is, if they're not using them to establish probable cause, why are cops showing up to people's house with a false accusation saying, I caught you on camera in this other town. You know, you can't get a breath of fresh air in or out of that town without us knowing. I saw you steal that $25 package. Look this up. This really happened. How is it not establishing probable cause? That's exactly what you're using them for. Okay, let's continue on down. Pardon me. How do law enforcement agencies use ALPRs? Pardon me 1 second. Excuse me, just have a little bit of a cough. So how do law enforcement agencies use ALPR? ALPR technology is simply another investigative tool available to investigators. Another nonsense statement. We know it's a tool. Like, just because something is useful to law enforcement or results in easier prosecution or any of that, it doesn't automatically, by virtue of that alone, make it something that we should adopt and something that's legal and constitutional. That means nothing. You know, it'd be real useful to the cops if we had a camera in our living room going straight into City Hall so that they could watch everything that we do and make sure that we're not, doing something in our house that's illegal. Like most of the crimes around here, I would imagine, occur at home. Like the really bad stuff, that happens at home. So let's put a camera in everybody's house and make sure that they don't need a warrant or anything to get that information, just to make sure that it helps those cops out. Nonsense. When a vehicle becomes associated with a criminal investigation, investigators may search ALPR databases to confirm whether that vehicle was observed near a crime scene or where it may have traveled afterwards. So again, it's kind of contradicting what it said before, that, it can't know where you live and it doesn't, some of these people say this stuff doesn't track you. What is the point of it if it doesn't do that? And right here, it even says that it's the point of it is to determine whether a vehicle was observed near a crime scene and where it may have gone afterward. That's the whole point. In certain cases, dispatch centers may receive real-time alerts when a stolen car or vehicle associated with a missing person investigation passes a camera. Notice it doesn't mention a hot list that they don't need a reason to put you on. They can just be like, I don't like Ben. Put him on a hot list because he was outspoken at a meeting. He really made Gary look like an idiot, or whatever. Like anybody that has any level of corruption, and I'm not accusing anybody in particular, okay? I'm just saying that this is a tool that allows for major corruption because there's no oversight over this. It's like, yeah, we can get a real-time alert when Ben passes a camera even though he's not wanted for anything. Like if they wanted to do that, they could, So that's where we're at. ALPR technology commonly assists investigations involving stolen vehicles, missing children, missing endangered adults, Alzheimer's and dementia patients. And I think that continues on another page. Yeah, here we go. Hit and run crashes, burglaries, robberies, violent crimes, homicides, vehicle pursuits, wanted felony suspects. Just as importantly, investigators often use ALPR information to eliminate innocent vehicles from an investigation, allowing resources to be focused on more productive leads. So notice what's not included in there is that $25 package theft. Oh, I guess it's like burglaries and robberies, but it's like little stuff. It's like they're trying to make it look like, oh, we only use it to stop narcotics trafficking. We're only using it to stop kidnappings. If wouldn't you want us to be able to find a kid? And it's like they're tying up resources messing with these cameras over like a $25 package. Continuing on, which, I don't think anybody has a problem with something being used to solve a major crime. I certainly don't have a problem. If there's a warrant, if there's a probable cause, nobody has a problem with solving violent crimes, narcotics trafficking, whatever. Nobody has a problem with that. Before ALPR technology, investigators often spent hours or even days canvassing neighborhoods for surveillance video, locating business owners and collecting recordings and reviewing footages in hopes of identifying a suspect vehicle. ALPR technology dramatically shortens that process. Rather than reviewing hundreds of hours of video, investigators can quickly determine whether a vehicle associated with an investigation was observed in a particular area. This allows investigators to spend more time interviewing witnesses, collecting evidence, and pursuing investigative leads. Time is often one of the most important factors in solving crimes. Quickly identifying a suspect vehicle can mean recovering stolen property, locating missing persons, or apprehending offenders before additional crimes occur. So it's like, yeah, we know it's an effective tool. That's not the issue at stake here. The issue at stake here is what is the Constitution, what is the constitutional rights of the people as it pertains to this. That's what this is. It's not the fact that we don't think they work or something. Other than, I will say, you can't show me a single white paper, you can't show me a single study that suggests that these flock cameras actually lead to a decrease in crime or a lessening on police workload. You can't show me that paper because it doesn't exist, except for the one published by Flock, wherein they admit that they didn't account for other factors that might have led to a reduction in crime in the same area that they were studying. So show me that data. Show me actually in real numbers and not this pedantic AI slop speak. Show me how these things are affecting the crime rate. And I don't think you can, because also when asked in a previous meeting, they couldn't provide that information. Nobody can provide that information because it doesn't exist, because they don't help. They don't do anything other than make it really easy for the police to be able to prosecute who they want. And that's essentially what that says. So what I'm worried about, everybody who is pro-Flock is coming at this from a position of, oh, crime is so terrible and it's so hard for police to solve crimes. And if your daughter or somebody was kidnapped or somebody was murdered, wouldn't you want the giant network of cameras to solve it instantly? And it's like, let's come at it from the other side. Let's take, for example, the innocent Arkansas family who was held at gunpoint by police because the cameras made a mistake. The cameras screwed up and flagged them as felony suspects. Okay? You know what happens in a felony stop? When the police do a felony stop, do you know what happens? They come at you with their guns drawn because you are a felon in their minds. They're ready for you to pull a gun on them and shoot them. Now, I know not everybody has done this, but I've actually done some police use of force training. There was a little while, again, I've said this before, I'm not anti-cop. I actually was considering a career in law enforcement at one time. And I've always been very into self-defense shooting and how that, plays out in the law. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is how quickly, when somebody's got a gun drawn, how quickly that can go from a talking situation to somebody's dead on the ground. And when that person is actually an innocent person, they didn't do anything, much less a suspect who actually may or may not have done it, being cheated out of their day in court. What about the innocent man? What about that Arkansas family where they were pulled out of their car at gunpoint with their newborn in the car because this freaking camera made a mistake and the cops were too stupid or lazy to check? That's what I think about. More than any kidnapping, more than any murder, I think about what happens to the innocent. And if these people, if your sheriff, honestly, if your sheriff and the deputies that are under that department, if your county commissioners and your government really understood the way that the justice system was intended to run, then they would understand that it's better for 100 criminals to go free than to punish one innocent person. That's the whole point of our justice system, where you're innocent until proven guilty. That's the point. And they miss it by trying to use fear of some horrible thing happening to you to get you to give up your constitutional rights, to get you to say, yes, it's okay for you to spy on me. It's okay for you to roll up on me and point guns at me and my family because a camera made a mistake and you don't want to check it out. That's the problem. I'm not scared of crime. I am scared of the state running amok. And that's the whole assumption that this country and this justice system was built on. And it seems to have been forgotten. So we've got another part here. Who owns these cameras? Many people assume law enforcement owns every ALPR. In reality, many cameras are purchased by businesses, subdivisions, homeowners associations, shopping centers, schools, and municipal governments. Property owners may voluntarily grant law enforcement permission to access those cameras when needed for legitimate public safety purposes. Nobody has a problem. It sounds like a security camera. That sounds like a security camera. If the police have to ask permission or have it be voluntarily given to them, that's a security camera. That's not what Flock is. So what I have a question about with that particular line, it's like, yeah, we know Home Depot has them, we know schools have them, but my question is, what is the friction there that keeps that data from being accessible instantly by law enforcement or by anybody who has Flock credentials? If Home Depot has a camera in their parking lot, Do they have to actively, wait for somebody to shoplift and then actively share that footage? Or can they, when they sign up for Flock, do they just hit, share with law enforcement? So essentially what I'm getting at is, do we just have tons and tons of privately owned or municipally owned campuses and buildings and stuff that are all networked into the greater searchable Flock database? That's my question, is because if they have to ask every time, if it has to be provided, then it's voluntary, then it's a security camera. Fourth Amendment's intact. But if they could just access it and use it to track somebody, like let's say you are put on a hot list and you drive to Home Depot, do the police get a notification about that when you drive past their camera? I don't know. So I don't know. Next, can law enforcement track my daily movements? This is one of the most commonly asked questions. No, ALPR systems are not designed to continuously monitor individual drivers. A camera records a vehicle only when it passes that specific location. Since cameras exist only at a limited number of locations, the overwhelming majority of vehicle travel is never recorded. Investigators search the system only for legitimate law enforcement purposes, such as investigating crimes, locating missing persons, recovering stolen vehicles, or identifying suspect vehicles. That's rich. Okay, there are over 100,000 of those cameras. I'd say probably a lot more at this point. Every major city is covered in them. So yeah, maybe in Dent County they don't track your daily movements, but if your daily movements include driving past a Flock camera, they sure do. If you're driving to Raleigh, you pass at least 2 of them right back to back. And then there's more in Raleigh. There's some in the different counties around there. There's a lot in Springfield. If you ever drive to Springfield, you go to Bass Pro, you go to different places in Springfield. If you're just going about your business there, they're tracking your movements. Because don't take my word for it. Let's just actually pull up the map of these cameras here. So here's the map. Here's the map. Let's zoom in on St. Louis. So if you live in St. Louis, look at that. Do you think they might be tracking your daily movements? If you live in Springfield, let's find Springfield. If you live in Springfield, do you think they might be able to track your daily movements? Let's look at Kansas City. If you live in Kansas City, do you think they might be able to track your daily movements? What about Northwest Arkansas? Walmart land. You think they might be able to track your daily movements? Now, you'll notice some of these really, really rural areas, like I'm from Northwest Arkansas here, there's nothing out here. And they put cameras at all the choke points of any travel. So if you live in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to get to somewhere, you're going to pass one. And same thing in Salem. So while they're not tracking your daily movements necessarily inside this little bubble here, if your daily movements go out this way, or 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 out this way, you're tracked. And if you go to Raleigh, you pass 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Well, it depends on where in Raleigh you're going, but there are multiple cameras, and that's all they need to be able to track you. Let's say you were driving from Salem to, Springfield. Let's see, if you wanted to go up through Raleigh, you'd pass a bunch there. You'd pass all of these. You'd pass all of these in Lebanon. Lebanon's got a ton of them for a town that size. Goodness. You pass that one in Marshfield, and then you get to Springfield, where they're everywhere. Or you could go the other way. Let's say you're going to to St. Louis. Drive up. Go over here, passing tons of cameras all the way, St. Clair, and the closer you get to the city center, the more there are, and then by the time you get here, actually into like Kirkwood and stuff, look at these. They are clustered together. Anybody that is traveling in this little area, you go to Bonefish Grill, drive around and go to Carter's, shop at Best Buy, everywhere you go is tracked. You're on all of these cameras, every single one of them. How could they not know where you shop? How could they not know what you're doing? How could they not be tracking your daily life? And I guess maybe the line, oh, we're not tracking your daily life, we're just taking a picture of you and putting it in a giant database every time you pass one of our cameras. That's the same thing, Einstein. That is the same thing. It's just kind of, it would make me really mad if it wasn't so ridiculous that they expect us to buy this, man. Like, we need to be mad, but also laugh at this because it's ridiculous. When somebody like Gary Larson gets up there and says, everybody's pro-flock, you drive up there everywhere, what are you going to do about it? Laugh at him. It's ridiculous, dude. That's why I posted that video, because these people think they know what they're talking about, and they won't even do a Google search, which all of us have Google. All of us have DFlog. We can look this stuff up. I get really heated about this. My apologies, but also not, because this is something you should be mad about. This is your Fourth Amendment right. These people are spying on you, and they're gaslighting you and laughing it off, and they're treating you like an idiot with this stupid drivel that they put out. So let's continue. Privacy concerns are appropriate whenever new technology is introduced into law enforcement. To help protect the public, agencies typically adopt written policies governing the use of ALPR technology. Common safeguards include access limited to legitimate law enforcement purposes. Well, Ben Jordan has shown that maybe not. Go watch some of his stuff and you'll see that some of these things, it's like, yeah, maybe access is limited and maybe it's just open to the internet and anybody with a flipper zero can get into it. Every search is logged and auditable. We know. I'll get to that maybe later in another video. Interesting. User activity is regularly reviewed. By who? Personnel receive training before using the system. By who? Flock? Unauthorized use may result in discipline or criminal prosecution, but it may not. Information is automatically deleted after approximately 30 days unless it becomes evidence in a criminal investigation. So that's kind of a lie. And I'm not quite crystal clear on this, and I think that's the point. They don't want you to be crystal clear on this. But Flock and everybody else that uses it claims that the data is only there for 30 days. However, having listened to Ike Skelton, who is the Camden County presiding commissioner, who is famous for taking down a Flock camera and getting prosecuted for it, listening to what he has to say after having reviewed some of these contracts with Flock and the sheriff's offices, it sounds like to me that either Flock or the sheriff's office, maybe both, somebody is required to retain that data pretty much indefinitely in case Flock is part of a federal lawsuit. So Flock wants to be able to pull up their data retroactively. They just don't want to store it. I think that's the gist. So Flock deletes your data after 30 days, from what I understand. And then the sheriff's department, I don't actually know. And that might be revealed if we ever see the full contract terms, which at the moment we've seen some stuff. I'm not sure if it's the full terms of the contract. I think it may have been like an invoice. I don't know. So we'll find that out. But I love that. Unauthorized use may result in discipline or criminal prosecution, but it may not. We typically have written policies, is what it says. Show us the written policy. Len Pabin was asked to show us the policy or to tell us, answer some of the questions in here. Who is training the personnel? Who is auditing it? Who is the one that how are people held accountable when they screw it up? And he said, I'm not revealing the way we operate. He said no. So again, and I said this in my last video, if you're claiming that there's some oversight policy that's to protect us from you spying on us, but you won't let us see it, there is no policy. I reject that. There is no policy if we can't see it. Who's holding you accountable? You? Yeah. Let's see. This is page 4. Let's go to page 5. ALPR systems are one of the many investigative databases available to law enforcement and are subject to similar accountability standards. We just won't let you see them. Constitutional considerations. License plates are required by law to be displayed publicly so vehicles can be identified while traveling on public roadways. Nobody has a problem with that. ALPR technology automates the observation of information that is already visible to anyone traveling on those same roads. But you're not, are you? You don't have a cop traveling the roads at all times behind everybody every time. You don't have a cop stationed on every single one of those blue dots, do you? Well, you do now. And that's the constitutional consideration. It is not a problem to take a picture of my car while I'm driving down the street. The problem comes when you take 1,000 pictures of my car every time I leave my house, and you plot all of those points on a map. And you say, here, law enforcement, here, feds, here, everybody with FLOC credentials, here's Ben Johnson's daily routine. That's the Fourth Amendment violation. It's not the picture of the car. Courts have generally recognized that there is a reduced expectation of privacy in license plates displayed in public. Okay, so read the license plate, not my bumper stickers. Like any investigative technology, however, ALPR systems must still be used in a manner consistent with the United States Constitution, applicable court decisions, and federal, state, and local laws. Okay, well, federal, state, and local laws say stalking is illegal. Federal, state, and local laws in the Constitution say you have to have probable cause, articulable suspicion, or a warrant before you start collecting data about my life that you can use against me in court. That's what the Constitution says. That's what the law says. And these people could not care less. Like, honestly, you saw those recordings. You've seen the way they talk to people. You've seen how they treat. They act like you're an idiot. They act like you are just an uppity, like you're just trying to cause problems and paint us in a bad light. You're violating the Constitution, and you don't even care enough about it to write out a paragraph explaining yourself. You have to use Grok. You're having the AI explain the AI to us. Get out of here. Keeping it in perspective. Okay, here we go. We're going to get preached at by Grok. Every day, most Americans voluntarily share substantially more personal information through smartphones, navigation applications, online retailers, loyalty programs, social media platforms, connected vehicles, and countless commercial services. I'm trying to hold it. Until I'm done reading this, but I'm not sure I can. Many of those companies collect information for advertising, analytics, or other commercial purposes and may retain it for months or years. Law enforcement agencies do not use ALPR technology for commercial purposes. Law enforcement might not, but FLOC sure does. Its use is limited to legitimate public safety objectives, governed by written policies, subject to audits, and designed to investigate crimes, recover stolen vehicles, locate missing persons, and protect victims. Again, and I've explained this on BotWatch. I've explained this in my sheets that I've put out. When my cell phone is tracking me, it's because I signed up for it. I signed a contract with Google and Facebook and Verizon and my insurance company. I signed a contract. It's called the terms of use. When you first get that phone out of the box, what's the first thing that you have to do in order for it to even work? You accept the terms of service, which you're allowed to read, by the way. I know nobody does, but you're allowed to read the terms of service. Okay? You're allowed to read the terms of service. And in those terms of service is outlined an obligation, an obligatory relationship between the customer, the user, and the company, the data company, or the tech company, whatever. That's a contract. It's like any other business contract. If Google violates the terms of my contract with them, I can sue them. If Facebook sells my data or gives it to law enforcement without a warrant or whatever, and that's not, something that's allowed in the terms of service, I can sue them. Now, nobody does this, but the option exists to there's at least a legal obligation there between the end user, me, and the company that is collecting data about me. And they're under legal obligations to me because of that. FLOC, I didn't sign a contract with FLOC. I never clicked I accept on FLOC. The sheriff did for me, but I didn't. The commission signed the checks without asking anybody, without doing any homework, but I did not sign a contract. FLOC has zero legal liability to me, zero contractual obligation to me. FLOC can do whatever the heck they want with my data. Really. And I have no recourse. If Flock wanted to take every time I drive my family to church and give it to China, sell that data to China or whatever, and I don't know why they would do that, but if they wanted to, there's not a darn thing I could do about it. Whereas if I sign up for a contract, at least I have the knowledge that I consented to it. I didn't consent to this. And there's no recourse for me if they violate my privacy in some way. For example, in a massive data breach, which has happened repeatedly, like on the same servers that all of this data is stored, at the Amazon Web Services, I forget what it's called. They have a special government partition for government services, but those breach too. So I can't sue them. There's never going to be a class action against Flock for breaching your data or whatever, because they're not liable to you. Comforting, isn't it? Real comforting. I don't think that was the point of this sheet, was to comfort us, or to unsettle us. I think it was supposed to comfort us and to make us go, oh, well, they really are they're just looking out for us. They're just wanting to stop the crimes. It's like, yeah, okay. Looking ahead, technology will continue to evolve, and law enforcement must evolve with it. Says who? Where's that written? Thanks, Grok, for that profound little bit of knowledge. Emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, drones, enhanced body-worn cameras, and automated investigative tools, will continue to generate important discussions about privacy and civil liberties. So they're kind of tipping their hand here. Artificial intelligence is already being used with the Flock system. That's the product, not the camera. The camera is just like a ESP32 with a webcam stuck to it and a solar panel from Harbor Freight. That's all that thing is. It's the system. It's the OS. It's Flock's OS. It's the ability to take all of that data and think about it with AI and parse out all of that data. That is their product. Communities should evaluate each technology independently, carefully considering both its public safety benefits and safeguards established to protect constitutional rights. Okay, we've evaluated it, and we've said no. Now what? Now nothing, apparently. Now we got it for 2 years, according to your commissioners, because they couldn't be bothered to do a 5-minute Google search on what these things actually do. They say that they're pro constitutional rights. They say that, oh, well, we're not for that stuff. We're not for data centers. We're not for all this stuff. Well, where was that 6 weeks ago? Where was that when you approved the system? Where was that when you signed the check that you didn't have to sign? Okay? So it's like, whatever. I think we might have, oh, here's another page. Yes. All right. The goal should never be choosing between liberty and public safety. Well, that seems to be the discussion right now. It's like, well, don't you... This stuff is so ludicrous, I don't even know how to respond to some of it. I'm kind of at a loss here. Did you know? Oh, did I know? Did I know? Did you know? Common technology knows where you are. Oh, I see. I'm trying to figure out how the heck this is even formatted. Okay, so common technology knows where you are. Typical smartphones and apps. What? I'm confused by the formatting here. Oh, okay, I see. Typical smartphones and apps know where you are often. Knows who you communicate with. Yes. Knows where you start. Okay, this is just, again, this whole thing, I just explained this. We consented to all of that. We did not consent to this. And I can throw my phone in a lake or choose to withdraw my consent at any time and never use Google again, never use Facebook again. Do you realize that it is within your power right now? I know we feel like it's all obligatory, but it is within your power right now to pull your phone out. Go on to Google, go on to Facebook, click delete account, and then take your phone, throw it in a lake, and Google and Facebook will never collect another scrap of data about you so long as you live. That is something that you can go do today. No matter how you feel about Flock, they have been collecting data about you for a long time. They will continue doing so. You can never say no. You can never revoke your consent. The only way is to do what we're doing and pressure the people that put them up to take them down, because We are the people and we won't live like this. That's the only way you can deal with this. Whereas with all these other services that they're like, oh, well, don't worry about it. Yeah, well, the difference is it's voluntary and I can stop whenever I want. Whereas with Flock, it's imposed on us by the county commission, by the sheriff's office, by Flock, by these large corporations that employ them. This is imposed on us. We didn't get a say. Nobody asked us. Final thoughts. No investigative technology is perfect. That's the point I'm trying to make. And every technology deserves thoughtful public discussion. Okay, except that they didn't have any. The county commission didn't have any. Go listen to Jimmy Williams in my last video say, I don't want to have a town hall, like a petulant child. Like, these people sound like children whining when we expect them to explain themselves to us. Automated license plate readers are not a replacement for traditional police work. Seems to be being used for that in a lot of cases. Nor do they establish probable cause or determine guilt. Again, a blatant lie. Just a blatant lie. What's the point of them if you can't use them to establish probable cause or to determine guilt? What's the point of them? You're gathering evidence to be used to prosecute us. That's the point. So this is just a lie. This is simply one more investigative tool among many that helps investigators develop leads more quickly and allocate resources more effectively, like fingerprint databases, DNA databases, surveillance cameras, and criminal history systems. ALPR technologies must be used responsibly, transparently, and within the law. When combined with strong policies, auditing, accountability, and respect for constitutional rights, ALPR technology can help recover stolen vehicles, locate missing persons. This is a mouthful. That's how you know it's AI. Identify criminal suspects and improve public safety while preserving the liberties that communities rightly expect. Oh, how magnanimous. So, thanks a lot, Gary. Thanks a lot, Sheriff Wells. Thanks a lot, Len Pabin, for clearing the air, for giving us this drivel AI slop crap document to supposedly explain to us why you're spying on us and why that decision was made without any input from the people, why you were trying to shut down discussion of it, why you're gaslighting us, lying about the capabilities of the system, why you don't even know how half of it works. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. As one of them said, I think it was Jimmy Williams, I don't know how you could get much more transparent than that. I don't even know where to go from here, man, other than to tell you guys we all need to show up to these meetings every week. This last meeting where this was given out was proof that what we're doing is working, that these people are on the back foot. Did you notice how they immediately blamed everything on the sheriff? Like, the second they started getting any actual heat, they changed their tune from previous meetings, which was, oh, it's a tool. Don't you have a cell phone? They were like, getting really into Denver's whiskers about the flock cameras. But then when like 16 people show up, oh, well, we'll pass your concerns on, and it was all the sheriff. It was the sheriff's fault. The sheriff did it. We just signed the thing, and it was the opioid board that made the decision, not us. We didn't have a vote on it. That's what Jimmy Williams said. Okay. All right. The Opioid Settlements Disbursement Board. I didn't even know this thing existed until that was mentioned. I decided to look that up because they're supposed to be the ones that made this decision, according to the commissioners during that meeting. And the chairman of that board is acting like a current sheriff's deputy. I'm not going to mention names. I'm not trying to ruin anybody's life here. I'm not trying to bring ire on people. But that's such a cop-out. That's not like a check and balance. That's not, oh, somebody else made that decision. The sheriff's office has a guy on the board as the chairman of the board. I don't know who. I have a list of the names of the people on the board. They also suggested at the commission meeting that you go and voice your concerns with them. How? Okay, in order to figure out who was even on this board and where this board came from, I called the Merrimack Planning Commission, which was the only place that had anything about it online. They didn't know, so I called Angie Curley down at the courthouse. Her phone didn't pick up, and I ended up emailing her, and she did respond, and she was very courteous and gave me the information that I requested. But that's how I had to find out the list of names of who's on it. It's not publicly posted anywhere other than in those meeting minutes of who's on committee that is supposed to be the ones that made the flock decision, I guess, other than the sheriff and everybody but the commission. It's really interesting how it's everybody but the commission has the power. Everybody but the presiding commissioner has any power. It's like, okay. I think we all see through that. So you're upstream from the decision in that you appoint the board. The board has a sheriff's deputy as the chair. And then you're also downstream because the sheriff and the board have to come to the commission to get the disbursements approved. So you signed the check, but you didn't want to do any research. You appointed the board, but who cares what they do? That's not your fault. You blame it on the sheriff, who I haven't heard say hide nor hair on any of this, other than supposedly this document that was put together by the sheriff's department, but in reality was put together by ChatGPT. I don't buy it. You can't pass the buck. If you feel like you don't have the power to take it away, then why do you have the power to approve it in the first place, to sign the check? As far as, oh, well, we have a contract and we're going to have to deal with Flock for the next 2 years, break the contract. Whatever it costs you, I promise you, whatever it costs you to break that contract will pale in comparison to the cost to the taxpayers of the lawsuits for the Fourth Amendment violations that are going to come out of this, or when one of these sheriff's deputies decides to stalk his ex or something like that, as is happening across the country. And it's not like I'm not trying to sit here and individually point out, like, I don't think any individual person at the sheriff's office would do that. But I gotta say, I just don't think people should have that kind of power over other people. Because imagine, if you thought your spouse was cheating on you, you really suspected it, but you couldn't prove it, and you had a way to check with no safeguards on it, except maybe, so I guess these people eventually get caught, but I've also been hearing that they've kind of changed the way some of this works so that maybe they don't as much anymore. We'll have to see about that. But imagine how you would feel. Would you be able to resist checking the giant nationwide database of cameras to see that little turd, cheating on you or cheating with your spouse or something? Like, I don't think many people could. And that's why nobody should have this kind of power. And the commission needs to figure out a way to get rid of it. They need to, they say they'll go talk to the sheriff, or they tell us to go talk to the sheriff. Okay, where is he? He doesn't, I haven't seen him. Now, granted, I haven't gone to those meetings, those commission meetings, but I haven't seen any footage of him at one of those meetings. It's Len Pabin there talking for him. Talking about what the sheriff wants, what the sheriff thinks, what the sheriff thought would be a good idea. Where's the sheriff? Why isn't the sheriff telling us any of this? Why isn't the sheriff developing a press release to put out to explain himself and his decision to us, instead of this thing that he or somebody, again, no authorship on this, they spent 5 minutes punching into ChatGPT to try and get this out. So we need to go down there every meeting and make them have this conversation every single day. Tell Gary Larson, tell Jimmy Williams, tell Keith Green that you don't buy that they didn't have any input in it, because they're the ones that signed the checks, and they're the ones that appointed the board that has a sheriff's deputy as the chairman, which I don't have a problem with on the face of it. But do you think when it comes to Flock that might be a little conflict of interest, given that it's the sheriff's office asking for it? So anyway, before I eat up any more time here, I hope you guys have a good day. I'm really glad that you stuck with me through the end of this ridiculous thing, and join us at Dent County Bot Watch. We're not done. Passing the buck doesn't make it go away. So we're not done. I'm planning on being at that meeting on Monday. I suggest all of you do as well. If you're watching this, show up, and you don't have to even talk. Just show them that you're there, that you back us up, and we'll talk for you. If you're just not the kind of public speaking person, I'm not saying we'll speak for you. I'm saying we can get the points across, the rhetoric. All you have to do is support us. Follow us on our page. Join the effort, join the movement, and show up. That's it. Because clearly this pressure is working. I have not seen people backpedal like that in that office in a while. That was really interesting. So go watch the full recording of the entire thing. I don't want to ever be accused of taking something out of context or twisting sound bites or any of that. Go watch the whole recording. I encourage you. Please, prove me wrong. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions about how you want to be governed. Do you want to be governed by incompetence, by obfuscations, by lies? You know, look at Gary Larson's response during that, with his mouth open, sitting there. There are thousands of people. I talked to thousands of people. There are barely thousands of people in this county, Gary, and you sure haven't talked to me. And I've tried. And that's another thing. They say their emails and stuff are open. Maybe to some people. I don't know. I've tried. I tried reaching out to y'all at the very beginning of all of this. And Jimmy Williams, to his credit, is the only one that responded. But you know what he told me? Come to the meetings. I wasn't accusatory. I asked some very simple questions, and it was come to the meetings. So, no, I don't buy any of this, and neither should you. And it's time to make sure that they know that. So, thank you very much. Sorry to talk your ear off, and sorry for getting heated. But again, also, I'm not sorry for getting heated, because this is my Fourth Amendment rights and my children's future. So keep that in mind if you disagree. Have a good day.